Hi everyone, it's Rosa here, and I am seated beside my sacred tree. I call this the hooting owl tree because high in the tall branches there are nests, and I believe they're owls. I always hear them. There are so many, a whole family of them. And this tree is at least 100, maybe 200 years old. So yeah, let's see if the tree can help me to channel the most happy, healthy, and holy message for you all today. I wanted to talk about psychic readings. So if you are interested in getting a psychic reading or you've had psychic readings, I feel this can help you. What we are doing when we are getting a psychic reading, we are basically opening up our own psyche. We are basically setting the intention, either it's consciously or subconsciously, allowing them to enter our psyche and enter our Sachic record to basically read us our energy, our Sachic record or our psyche. Because psychic predictions, you could say, of the future, things of the past, the present, it all has to do with your psyche. We can get into your Sachic records as though you have a plan and it's pretty much set. It's gonna go like this. Well, I'm sorry, Earth isn't really like that. It's all dependent on your psyche. Now, your psyche is the product of your childhood. It is the product of the environments you were raised in. It is the product of all your caretakers growing up, that even include your teachers. It includes your negative mind, your positive mind, your neutral mind. It includes your physical body and the health and wellness of your physical body. It is any toxicities you have in the body, any distortions. That's pretty much your psyche. Now, when you are looking at a person and you've just met them, basically your intuition or discernment is picking up on their psyche. So a psyche cannot lie. A personality can lie, but a psyche, if the psyche does not vibrate integrity or dignity, the psyche does not have that. Or the psyche is slightly, has an illusionary, deceptive, or kind of unreal integrity or dignity. So the psyche is what you are allowing the psychic to read. Now the psyche, the one thing about that is it can be, let's say, cleansed or purified. It can be reformed and it can be modified based on your ability to, let's say, heal the negative mind, heal the positive mind, heal the neutral mind, heal your childhood, elevate your consciousness. That basically can help you to have a more organic psyche. But those who tend to have a more organic psyche, a more flow-freeing psyche, a psyche that is like a raised its consciousness kind of thing, those people tend to not necessarily be interested in psychic readings because they understand that within the sophisticated psyche, they have all the tools and knowledge they need within to help them manage their life. So it's not so much about the future when we elevate our psyche. It is more so about the oneness of time, which is the past, the present, and the future kind of all playing out right here and now. And with that kind of psyche, we are using our talents and our gifts in this moment now to align ourselves with our highest divine expression. Because we have that in our Sachic record, our highest divine plan. But the thing is, we have to elevate our psyche in order to align with that. So when we talk to a psychic, what to be a little bit cautious of is that I would say I've talked to psychics in the past. I've been down the rabbit hole of talking to psychics. And basically, they are connecting. A lot of them don't even connect with your Sattvic record, which is like your divine life purpose, because that is sacred. So your spirit guides, the angels, are not just going to allow any person to just go inside your library. Would you let anybody just enter your library where you have all these neat and organized books of all your lifetimes throughout time? No. So your spirit guides and your ascended masters, they really kind of safeguard your library, protect your library, because let's say you have a psychic that has a psyche that let's say has some negative energy, or they have their own limiting beliefs that you don't want to be murking up your library. Because in your library you have these sacred truths, you have these sacred beliefs that are expansive, that are ingenious, that are visionary, and you don't want a psychic to kind of input their own limited belief that they have attracted or absorbed from their childhood, from their caretaker, from their ex-relationship. So that's why psychic readings don't necessarily get into the root of your being. They just get a little glimpse of your aura, which is the outer layer of your psyche. And again, psyche is biochemistry inside of you. It's like your DNA activation. It's like your chakra system, and all of that creates this vibratory field that we pick up on. We have low vibratory fields that are influenced by limitations, influenced by karmas, influenced by negative habits, all that kind of stuff. And we have a vibratory field that's very luminous. And we are picking that up wherever we go. And that ultimately is how we decide if we are compatible with someone, is their vibratory field. And I mentioned everything that makes that up. So a psychic, a lot of times, especially those 1 minute psychics, the $1 a minute or something like that, $7 a minute, they have them online, and those are the ones I went to. Basically, they are looking at your outer layer, which is your aura. And the aura, the one thing about that, is that your aura is pretty much, it's always changing. It's always, but your psyche is a little bit more consistent day to day. But your aura, it does fluctuate. It fluctuates very much like a cloud, very much, while the psyche can be more so, it's kind of like a tree. If you give more nutrition, more health and vitality, the tree tends to be brighter, tends to have more vibrant leaves than if a tree in the drought, it looks kind of haggard and dull looking, kind of like that thing. So my experience with psychics is that you have to be cautious, because they may put in a belief, because you are very vulnerable when you are connecting with a psyche, because you have set the intention that I allow you to enter my most intimate, deep space. And if you are just letting anybody, then you're letting their psyche enter your deep, sacred, intimate space. Now, in that intimate space, it's like a hypnosis. You're allowing the hypnosis person to be a guide and take you into a deep place, and they're going there with you. So when they go there with you into your deepest, darkest, most intimate space, your sacred map, your sacred essence, your sacred divine mission in this incarnation, if the psychic isn't really elevated or clear in their own life, they may give you a belief that's simply created from their own limited mind. So if a psychic has a lot of let's say, not expansive beliefs, because they haven't really, let's say, did the work, really gone deep with expanding their boxed in beliefs, they're going to give you little glimpses. And the thing is, you may focus on a piece of information that is like a little detail of something you've asked about the future or whatnot. And if you focus on it as that is it, it may become a belief inside of you. It may root itself as a belief. So when you're out, you're looking for that, but that just might be a little detail, not the end-all thing. So that can kind of confuse you. For example, I went to a psychic once, and I asked her about my highest life partner, and I was about maybe 19 or something, and she said sunflower, something about, he has like a sunflower tattoo. So I remember I would go to these little events, and I would just, sunflower. And then about like 2 years later, I went to a poetry event, and I saw the sunflower, and it really resonated with me. It was like a big sunflower. And then the day later, I met somebody who had a sunflower tattoo. And I remembered the psychic reading. And now, kind of years later, I realize that was just a tiny little glimpse of the greater whole. So again, psychic readings, if we're looking at the aura, we're just gonna get probably like a little glimpse than the bigger picture. That's why I'm more so into divine guidance for the here and now, because it's looking at the greater picture, and it's looking at how you can be your most luminous self, so you can get in alignment with your most luminous life. Because the future stuff, it gives us hope, yes, but if we are putting in beliefs about who is our partner, what kind of job we'll have, it can get us tunnel visioned. It can get us out of our body. We're not grounded any longer. It can get us too focused on just a tiny detail, and ultimately it can close us off to our own divine intuition. Because what I learned from that sunflower is the sunflower wasn't indication of that's my life partner, that was leading me, or sign from the divine about the poetry. Because during that event that the sunflowers was present and prominent everywhere, there was a poetry reading going on, and I got within myself this divine intuitive knowing to write poems, and I did, and I have done it ever since, and I have so many poems now. So that sunflower, little detail, little did I know, was not this big old reveal of who my life partner is. It was a sign, an opening for a divine talent that I have within me that I didn't know, such as writing poems. I was always interested in, but I just didn't fully embrace that or fully allow that aspect in. So that's the thing with psychic readings, is it requires an open mind. And when we're not an open mind, if we're just taking this in as all the little pieces that they give us is the truth kind of thing, and that's what's going to happen, it can become beliefs, and it can lower our self-esteem, it can confuse us, and it can create programs for why we should do that, or why we should do that, or why this person's it, or why that's that, because it aligns with a little piece of the bigger picture. And that's what we don't want, because it pulls us away from our own intuition and pulls us into a future that a lot of times it's like just little fragments. It's fragments. Because a lot of times psychics is showing a fragmented kind of this and then that. But in this moment now, in our own intuition, we can ask ourselves, our physical body, our heart, what would I truly like to experience in this life? And that is trusting your intuition in this life, not needing somebody to tell you you can have a good life. It is you telling yourself in your heart, what would I truly like to experience in this life? And then aligning in this physical moment with practices that support talents in creativity, self-expression, inner child, forgiveness, compassion, unconditional love, and letting that sacred space within you to receive ideas within yourself, complete ideas of what it is you would truly like to experience in this incarnation, in your future, and then begin living that, anchoring that in the here and now. So the one thing about psychics that it really confuses us is we're thinking in time of linear, that we're just gonna walk and then get there. No, the future we want is like a tree. You have to plant that seed. You can't expect it just to... So when I mean anchor and begin the process of grounding is very important in the here and now. We ground it. So we have to be honest and real with ourselves. If we lack health and wellness and we want, let's say, an experience that requires a lot of energy, that requires a lot of requires a lot of creativity, which is vitality, well then we have to work on our health and wellness and begin grounding that into the here and now so that we can align with that. Everything is about what you are aligning to and what you are not in alignment with. If you want a more creative future, then start grounding creativity here and now so that it grows stronger in your life. Everything is something that is growing stronger or growing weaker. Weaker as in you are shrinking negative mind or bad habits and you are expanding creative talents. It's all about the power that you give to things in this here and now that really creates a momentum for the direction of your life. So we like to do the hope, or a lot of us are just hoping that, things will turn around, but then in the here and now, there's a misalignment going on with us and that higher experience. We're like, it doesn't match. So if you want to have a higher experience of your future, something like that, you got to get a higher experience here and now so that you can be a match for something as luminous and bright and adventurous as what it is that you like to receive. So even persons, if you're asking about persons and if this person's my soulmate, my highest life partner, and a lot of times psychics may give you these, these little beliefs, these little glimpses, but ultimately it is your intuition creates the bigger picture within yourself. So we can hold on to these beliefs, or we can, allow them to be beliefs, programs inside our deep subconscious, like a hypnosis, or we can allow it just to be like a detail, just a detail of a life, not necessarily that is that, but it could be a sign or a divine guidance, not necessarily on this subject, but helping me. It could even lead me to another thing, or help me to clear karma, or it could be leading me on a path towards a realization regarding a relationship or a tendency or habit. Okay, so it's always to keep a spacious mind and to not be fixated on what is being said as though that is it, and the subject that it's on, that's what's gonna happen. Okay, this is all beliefs. So we ultimately, in life in general, we want to deprogram as much as we can so that we can create space for us to program our neurology, our self-expression from our soul. Not from a psychic, not from a parent, not from a religion, not from ideology, from our soul. So I'm going to leave you guys with that, because I feel like I gave you enough information about the whole psychic thing. But when we elevate our consciousness to a certain level, we're not going to need a future. We're just going to be within ourselves and connect with that oneness of time that I was mentioning. And that oneness of time of the past, the present, and the future, it all kind of pours in together like Niagara Falls. And we feel great power within us. Great power, great knowledge of what skills, talents, and strengths we have that we want to grow here and now, so that they can be really secure in our life for when that divine calling comes. We are ready to go, because we already have it really secure in our total embodiment. So yes.